everybody. Welcome back to the Welcome to the Sun Property Podcast, the Welcome Estates Property Podcast. I'm Aky, and I'm joined, as always, by Colin in Lefinka, Spain. And sadly, Colin, we're not joined by Lisa today. Very sadly, she lost her mother Jane last week, so she won't be joining us. We're thinking of her in the family at this time, aren't we, Col?
We are, yeah. Everybody's asking about you. Everybody sends the love, and she's not in any pain anymore. So we hope you can move forward successfully.
Absolutely, lots of love to all the family. And we're here to get back into the podcast. It's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks, and it's actually, I'm looking out the window, Colin. The reason why I sound a bit sad, I'm in sunny England, although I wish it was sunny. It's actually pouring down. How is it? How is it over where you are?
Are you waiting for climate change, Jackie?
yes, please. Just a little bit of sun would be nice in the summer.
I mean, unsurprisingly, it's beautiful, and it's probably a couple of degrees. Oh wow, okay, there you go. It's probably a couple of degrees cooler than it might normally be this time of year. We had quite a downpour a few nights ago in the middle of the night, and it just seems to have released the little pressure valve, but it'll build again, as sure as eggs is egg.
Looking at this map, it would look like it's the end of the world, but that looks great to me.
Yeah, I'm not so sure the 42, 43 degrees. We had friends who went to see Kylie Minogue in Sevilla a couple of weeks ago, and Sevilla is famously known as the frying pan of Europe, and they could concur it was.
Wow. Okay. Well, wishing everybody in Spain happy sunbathing, but perhaps not in the middle of the day. Let's just say that. So, how things going with Welcome Estates? Because obviously it's been a while since we've caught up. Is the market still hot? What trends are you seeing from buyers, from sellers?
Yeah, the market's about as hot as the weather, with absolutely no sign of abating.
Wow.
We've recently just had the land registry stroke notary statistics that have came out for 2024, and there's a record number of purchases even from last year. So do you mind if I just give you a little rundown of what happened in 2024 and kind of where we are already in 2025?
Absolutely, so I think you should.
Notaries logged, obviously there's a bit of a time log from when this information gets public. So notaries logged that last year 93,000 properties were sold to foreigners in Spain, which represents about a 15% ratio of buyers. So every 1 in 7 buyers in the entire country of Spain is not from Spain, which is quite a high number.
Yeah.
Alicante still leads that. So Alicante, 43% of foreign buyers bought in Alicante, and 32% in the Malaga region. So you can see there the two main Costas represent 3/4 of purchases from foreign buyers. So you're going to have a few spattered all around the country. There was also which to be honest, this totally represents our year from last year as well. So there was an absolute boom in new build sales. So there was 135,000 new build sales throughout the entire country, and obviously that's not just foreigners, that's through Spaniards as well. That was up nearly 25% from 2023. So a huge increase on new builds, and it actually represents nearly 21% of all sales of last year. Brits still top the charts for foreign buyers, and Brits represented about 12,000 sales in 2021, with interestingly Germans and Italians coming up a close second, which we don't tend to see a lot of Italians in our region. But things are going from strength to strength. The new build market is still remarkably strong. That's the message maybe about the EPC EU regulations that are going to be coming in from 2030, and maybe now starting to make a difference. But New builds have always been popular because people want something bright and shiny with all the guarantees that come with it.
Yes. So the market's hot, hot, hot.
It is.
So Cole, I know this might sound like a silly question, but how do you get a good bargain then? You know, when the market is this hot, are there any top tips you could, other than following Welcome Estates, which is your number one tip, but is there anything else that you could recommend potential buyers out there could do to try and get a bargain?
We get asked that a lot, and we get a lot of people say, oh, let me know when you've got a bargain. Well, bargain's a very subjective term, isn't it? And bargain to one person might mean something totally different to another. And, we always try and use the term value for money with a good investment behind it. And being quite honest, with the way the market currently is, what we predominantly see sales and sale prices usually within about 4 or 5% of asking price. Now whether somebody would deem that to be a bargain, I think what somebody's asking is can I still get, a fortune knocked off the price like, you could many years ago? And in our experience, the answer to that is probably not. Unless the property's been on the market for a long time, there's a lot needs doing to it. It's not in the right location. The key is this market is no different to anywhere else. It's location driven. And if you want that home with all the amenities in a great area, near everything, you're going to have to be prepared to pay for it. But what we would say is know what your budget is, have your financing in place. And when something comes along, if it's the right price for you, then you've got to be in a position to move quickly. There are places in Spain where, you can buy sub 60, 70,000 euros, but for the vast majority of people, those properties won't be in the right area for them. As we illustrated earlier, nearly 3/4 of the foreign market is on the two costas in southern Spain. And those properties are starting to not exist in these areas now. We really don't see a lot of sales under the 140, 150 mark these days, certainly in this area.
Okay, right. So I suppose staying informed, keeping up to date with what's online and what's out there, and trying to get in first as well, because it's people are. I'm assuming there's bidding wars going on. There's multiple people who want the same property, just like it is here, essentially.
There is an interest. You said what are the trends at the minute, and speaking to members of the team and certainly myself, we're seeing an awful lot more people now who are coming to the table who require a mortgage. And that is purely because of the way property prices have gone. I spoke to one lady a couple of weeks ago who was coming over. They've been coming over for the last 3 years looking for something, didn't pull the trigger over the last 3 years, and now simply cannot afford what they could have done 3 years ago. So it's, it's an interesting one. But what I say to anybody is, take a look at what's happened to your own property value over the last 15 years, 16 years post the credit crunch. It's absolutely gone through the roof. So there should be no surprise here why property prices are rising. People almost seem quite surprised or offended. What? Property prices are going up? Well, just look at what's happened to your own property price in 15 years. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So a lot more people are coming to the table with mortgages and actually accepting the fact that, they might have to take on a small mortgage to get what they want.
Oh, great points. And well, to try and help, because we're always trying to help here at Welcome Estates a little bit, right? Now, I know you guys don't like the word bargain. This is not a bargain, this property. This property represents good value, but it does come with a 1% Welcome Estates gift voucher for aircon and furniture, etc. So let's take you to our featured property of the week. It's a great investment option. It's an apartment in Pilar de la Horadada. Hope I've said that right, Cole. Can you tell us a little bit about this 3-bedroom property?
95% on that, Aky. Horadada.
Horadada. Okay.
Well done.
All right. Here we go. So 3 bed, 2 baths, 409 euros. Basically 410 euros.
1,000. Don't say 410. We'll be inundated, Aky.
Okay, the exact price is 409, 900. Okay, that's the exact price. We're just
Starting.
150 meters with this property from Las Higueras Beach, and it's delivered fully furnished with a short-term rental license included. Now that's something interesting because we've discussed how that can be quite hard to obtain actually. So tell us about that, Col.
Yeah, so these kind of properties are going to become more and more prevalent. There is already 2 very successful developments in our region, and it's kind of really tapping into the fact that it's becoming more and more difficult now to do short-term rentals. And the reason for that is the rules have been changed to essentially moderate the number of tourist licenses that there are. And one of the key components of this is that if say you had an apartment in a normal development, a domestic development, let's call it, and obviously that apartment would be part of a community which obviously has communal services and a pool, etc. It is now the responsibility of the president to offer a vote in the AGM every year to see whether that community actually agree or disagree with tourist licenses. So it's a little bit like turkeys voting for Christmas. It can be a toss of a coin sometimes. So the key message is if anybody is looking to buy something with a view to short-term rentals, it is becoming more and more difficult, and there is absolutely no guarantees absolutely anywhere now of getting that said tourist license. For example, in the city of Malaga, the town hall there have basically put a blanket stop to any new applications for the next 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
In Alicante city centre, they've done exactly the same, but over the next 2-year period. So they've basically said anybody coming to the table requesting a tourist license will be absolutely rejected. Now, the term tourist license is what you need to be able to advertise something, a property on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com. Those portals simply cannot advertise something without its legal tourist license.
Okay.
So what developers are now starting to understand, it's going to be more difficult for anybody buying what we call a domestic property, and I'll come on and explain the differences in short term, to actually obtain that tourist license. So these properties are specifically now being built with the correct planning permission in place as touristic developments. Now there is a key difference. A touristic development is not a domestic development, so you cannot ever live in that property 12 months of the year. So they are not designed to be permanently lived in. So for anybody who is looking for a permanent residence, this is not for you. So what the terms of a touristic development state is that you, as the owner, you're allocated 4 months throughout the year to use it yourself. So you still have 4 months, which is, you know, more than acceptable for most people. Again, it wouldn't work for you if you were maybe looking for that 4 or 5 month or 6 month period, because you're only allowed 4 months, and it has to be available for rent for the balance of the year, which is the 8 months. It's all fully managed. There is a reception. It's effectively like a hotel. You are effectively buying an apartment in a hotel.
Yeah.
There are 43 3-bedroom units and 6 2-bedroom units. I was actually there just last week with clients who specifically are looking to invest. The starting price is about the 409, 410,000 point, but they do go slightly over the $500,000 mark. And that is for the top floor penthouses with solarium. Now, interestingly, the developers actually built a big, effectively balcony where you walk up the different levels and you can actually see the views. And as it says, you are literally a 3-minute walk to the beach. And from the top floor, you have protected sea views. You are a 15-minute walk back into Torre de la Horadada, which is a beautiful Spanish town. And interestingly, for this summer, the developer is guaranteeing a net return for anybody who purchases for the first 3 years after tax, after charges of €25,000.
Okay.
So that is how confident they are. Their manager, who's managing these, run developments like this all over Spain, where they're a property manager. So the key to these developments is you have to do nothing. Whereas, you might have to do all your own Airbnb if you've got your own place. You literally have a contract with a property manager. They do absolutely everything. All you do is receive the income, and then you enjoy your holidays when you turn up as well.
That sounds like a very unique and very brilliant idea. Actually, I'm just really listening to that and thinking that does sound like a great investment option, especially if they're guaranteeing they believe they're going to return that amount of money to you. It's great.
In no time, Aky, this is quickly becoming the only way you can really do it now.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
the avenues to getting the traditional tourist license on the domestic property are gradually dwindling.
Yeah.
And particularly if you're going to buy a property on a community, don't forget that community has the power to vote against it. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely lining yourself up to make a horrific error. But if you've got the budget, if you've got the money, these developments are the only way, or going to quickly become the only way you can really do this without, by taking all the risk out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving this so much. I really think that when the next time Chris and I visit, we should go around this complex with you and actually make some videos about it, because the concept does seem pretty novel, and it does sound, because most people who buy a holiday home are probably going to be in the property for around maybe 4 months, maybe less than 4 months a year. So actually, this is a way of making some money back anyway.
And that's the thing, Aky. We meet a lot of people who they want to buy something, but they can't justify in their own mind only using it 3 or 4 months of the year. So therefore, they say, oh, well, then we'll rent it out. And if it's becoming more and more difficult, which hands up it is, that avenue is going to be extinguished pretty quickly, or that's the way the wind's blowing anyway. So this is perfect for somebody who wants that income, because, it's a lot of money to have sat there doing nothing, potentially over an 8 or 9 month period of the year. It's generating an income for you, and it's absolutely beautiful as well. I mean, there's a gym, there's an indoor pool as well. The complex is going to be amazing. Interestingly, there's not a brick in the ground yet, Aky, and they've already sold units.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
So they're not expecting even a show apartment to be ready by the end of October, November. But it just shows you people are buying into the concept, because, finding property so close to the beach as well is rare.
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit of the other place we went with the lagoon, La Rosales, was it called?
Yeah, Santa Rosalia.
Santa Rosalia, that's it, Santa Rosalia.
Yep.
That place, because people were buying without actually having, just by visualizing what was going to be there, and they realized that when they actually had bought and the lagoon was there and everything was there, they'd made a great purchase.
Yeah, and that happens all the time. So that's not unusual. People buying before there's a brick laid, it isn't unusual here. You've just got to be able to have the vision. Interestingly, though, as well, I know you said earlier about the 1% gift. Because these have to come fully furnished, because they're a touristic development. That is the law. They come literally with absolutely everything, including bedding and your knives and forks and your crockery and everything. So you would just use your 1% for your legal fees on this, because you don't need anything else. It comes with everything.
Fantastic. So I told you guys, Welcome Estates is always trying to help you. They're going to pay for your legal fees. Right? So come on, get signed up. And a property like this, that was a fantastic property. So thanks for telling us about that. That was a 3-bed. I'm assuming there's going to be 1 beds, 2 beds as well. If that price point was slightly too much.
No 1 beds in this development.
Okay.
So there's only a small number of 2 beds as well. So the vast majority of this development is 3 bed, which a lot of people ask for. Again, 3 bed apartments are actually quite rare. If you see the vast majority of developments, it is pretty much swung to 2 bed, 2 bath, with the odd handful of 3 bedrooms thrown in. So for anybody who's looking for 3 bedrooms as well, this is the one.
Fantastic. That is what I think that's been my favorite property of the week so far.
Okay.
So there we go.
Oh, well, we'll put a tick in that one.
Let's move on to some viewers' questions. So we love hearing from you guys because we get some really good questions coming in. And this one is from Kath Serrant, and she has asked, how easy is it to open a Spanish bank account as a non-resident?
Dead easy. So the first thing to say is the only real reason you need a Spanish bank account when you own a property here is to pay your utility bills and any community fees. So you have to have a Euro IBAN number. The vast majority of people will just wait until they've found a property and have their lawyer open the bank account for them through a power of attorney arrangement. That is usually the done thing. So when you ask how easy is it, yeah, it's easy because you literally don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's super easy. And I'm assuming, Cole, correct me if I'm wrong, because most accounts have an IBAN number anyway. You could actually pay these bills through your English account, couldn't you?
No, not necessarily. Well, with some, yes. So a lot more people now are starting to use bank accounts like Wise and Revolut that are more known as multi-currency accounts. So your standard high street account might not have that functionality within it, but whereas Wise and Revolut, they are, designed to transfer money. So if you have a Revolut or a Wise account, it will have an IBAN number, and I think both of them have the IBAN originating from Belgium, which obviously is Euro. It's actually not to do with having a Spanish bank account; it's having a Euro bank account, because you can't pay pounds to euros because of the currency risk.
Yes.
So some people use that route as well. But if you want a Spanish bank account, not a problem opening one.
It's easy. Okay, thanks, Kath, for that question. Let's move on to our next one, and this is from Emma Whitaker, who has asked, can I live in Spain full-time on a UK pension alone?
That's about as wide as it is long, that question, isn't it? It all depends how big the pension is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first things first, is it less expensive to live in Spain than in the UK? Absolutely, yes. We've covered that 100 times. So your basket of goods from a supermarket, unless you're buying all imported food, will be cheaper. Your utility bills are cheaper. Your council taxes are much cheaper. So yes, it is cheaper to live here. If you're asking from a English person who doesn't have access to a European or Irish passport, if you're looking to move to Spain to live permanently with a visa, again, you will have to hit the visa requirements. For a single person, it's nearly 29,000. For a married couple, it's 36,000 euros a year to match the NLV criteria, or the non-lucrative visa, which is what most retired people come here on. If it's just a state pension, you would have to have some significant savings behind you to match that criteria. If it's a pension with company pensions, private pensions, if you match that criteria, then come along. But again, it's one of those questions where, yes, you can live here, but would you qualify for a visa here? That's really the thing you need to understand first, because your income stroke savings needs to be at a certain level to qualify for that visa if you're already on a pension.
Okay. So that explains fully that question. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Carl. Let's move on to our next one. Yeah, the next one we've got is from Steve Thompson. What's the typical return on investment for short-term rentals? Well, we've just actually discussed that, haven't we? We literally discussed that. So it depends, because that sounded like a great. They were very confident, like you say. They've got a great location. They were 150 meters from a beach. They obviously believe in their product. It's endorsed by the community, but it probably not. Would you say that's probably higher than normal?
Yes, I mean, you tend to get typical ROIs of between 8 and 12% a year. One thing to bear in mind is that, it depends who you're advertising the property with, who's doing the marketing. Is it a professional firm? Are you just trying to put it on one of the portals yourself? The other thing you've got to be really mindful of as well with rentals, and this is where, you know, taking correct advice comes into it. If you're going to buy a rental as a non-EU resident, you'll pay a higher rate of tax. So obviously, as a rental, you have to pay income tax as you would in the UK. But if you're a non-EU resident, you will pay a higher rate of tax, and you can't offset any of your costs. So, for instance, a cleaning team, a management company, any of your advertising costs, you can't offset them. So that would technically, for somebody from the UK, give you a ludicrously high notional rate of tax on the basis that you're paying a slightly higher rate of tax in any event at 24%, and you can't offset any of your costs.
Yeah.
Now, this is where actually taking advice and potentially buying a property through a Spanish company is sensible, because it gives you the better rate of tax and you can offset your costs as well. So this is when anybody comes to making money in Spain through an investment, you've always got to take the right advice of how to buy that to make it as tax efficient as you possibly can.
Okay, fantastic. Getting some good knowledge here from Colin. Our next question comes from Mary Holland, and that's an interesting question. If I buy property in Spain, can my family stay there without me?
Oh, does she not want them to, maybe? If you don't want them to, Mary, I'll say no, and you can just edit the rest out. But if you obviously want them to stay there, the answer is yes, they can. Your friends or family can stay there. Again, if anybody's from a non-EU country, they're limited to 90 days in one sitting. But yeah, you don't have to be there to hold the hand. You can just give them the keys and let them enjoy it themselves.
All right, great. And our final question comes to us from Paul Comer. And this question: how much are yearly taxes and fees for owning a holiday apartment in Spain, approximately?
Yeah, good question. We see communal fees ranging between 400 and 600 a year, which obviously pays for the maintenance of communal gardens and pools and any communal areas. Your SUMA or your IBI, which is equivalent to your council tax as you would know it, would probably be somewhere between 250 and 300 a year, which obviously surprises a lot of people. You won't, if it's a holiday apartment, you probably won't use an awful lot of electric or water. So you will pay standing charges for those, and obviously pay as you go. Quite interestingly, though, the rate of electric and water is significantly less than it is in the UK. And obviously you would have Wi-Fi as well, I would assume. There's a lot of companies over here that will turn on or off your Wi-Fi as and when you leave. So because companies understand there's a lot of holiday makers here, they have certain contracts where you just ring them up and say, I arrive on Monday, can you make sure my Wi-Fi is turned on? And I'll leave in 2 weeks' time, can you make sure it's turned off? So you're not actually paying for Wi-Fi when you're not there. But those are really the things that you will pay for on an ongoing basis. You will pay, if you're not renting the property out and making an income and declaring income tax, you will pay non-resident tax. Typically on an apartment, you'll pay probably around €200 a year.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you for your questions from all the viewers there. We'll, we love hearing from you guys. So get in contact with us on the Instagram or the Facebook or the YouTube channel, or get in contact direct. Actually, something just popped into my head before we go on to Mythbusters. You mentioned about the property beforehand, which is returning approximately €25,000 a year as an investment. Can they pay that into a UK bank, or do they insist on paying that into a Spanish bank?
Yeah, that would really have to be declared in Spain, because obviously the income is being derived in Spain. Again, what we would say to anybody who was considering that, and in fact the clients who were there this week with me are looking to purchase through a UK/Spanish company. So again, when you're going to be generating that level of income, you really need to take good tax advice as to where you're going to be taxed. On that as well, their kind of projections based on examples they have from, you know, other developments that they have, they were probably looking at between 35 and 40,000 euros a year return pre-tax. The specific offer that this developer has on throughout this summer is 25,000 euros net. So that's after your fees and everything. So it's a bit of a red herring, because, you know, it's projected to generate far more than that. But
yeah,
if you can be guaranteed 75,000 euros over a 3-year period, then take it.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on.
I think you've got your name on one, Aky, because you're asking a lot of questions about it.
I think I could have a name on a 2-bed one. So if there is any,
would you like that?
I think you should send me one, Colin, straight after this. Thank you very much, Colin. Right, we've got some Mythbusters here. 3 Mythbusters. I don't know if there are going to be sound effects this time. I don't know. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But here we go. First one. You can't get a mortgage in Spain if you're not a resident. Myth or fact?
He's doing the sound effects before I've even said myth.
It's getting excited.
Let's just add some context to that, though. So as a non-resident, the rules are different. So we get a lot of inquiries where people say, I need a mortgage and I've got a 10% deposit. That's not going to work. It's not the same rules as in the UK, because you're not a tax resident here. So what you are going to need for a mortgage in Spain is you're going to need a minimum, and I say minimum, of 30% deposit. So the maximum that a lender over here will give you is 70%. It usually tends to drift towards the 60% in some occasions. The other thing you have to bear in mind, you have to have your charges or your taxes and costs on top of that. So you can't add your transfer taxes into the mortgage amount as well. Where that gets us to is somewhere near the 50% mark. So if you're looking at something for, say, 200,000 euros, you're going to need about 100 grand.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, you can't get away with it with a 10% deposit, because you're a non-resident. The risk's higher for a bank. What I would say is, as well, as if you have loans and mortgages in the UK as well, it's no different from the affordability perspective. Whatever you're paying for them will be knocked off your affordability here. So what a lot of people sometimes do is, it might be easier if you're thinking about buying in Spain or anywhere to actually speak to your current mortgage provider, or indeed use your current asset in the UK to further enhance the mortgage there. So there's 2 options. You can either do it in Spain. The benefit of that is the rates are lower than in the UK, because the rates are linked to the Euribor, which is where in the UK they're linked to LIBOR. So the rates do tend to be lower here. The other interesting thing about Spain is a lot of the actual mortgages that people take out are fixed for the lifetime of the mortgage. So there's none of this having to go back and revisit it every 2 years. A lot of them tend to be fixed throughout the term. So you're going to know what you're going to be paying right the way throughout the term.
Yeah.
Was that helpful?
Yeah, it's very helpful. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So
it is a myth.
That is a myth. Yeah. Okay, next up, myth or fact? Spanish properties always come with full furniture packages.
That's a myth as well. So what you will find is, with the vast majority, let's talk about new build and resale. So new build first. The vast majority of new builds will come unfurnished, because a builder just simply doesn't want to get into the minutiae of trying to predict what somebody's taste is. They just let people choose their own furniture. Some developers do, but the vast majority don't. Now, interestingly, the touristic developments, they have to be furnished from the legal requirement of having tourists in them. They have to come furnished. From a domestic new build, the vast majority are not furnished. When you're talking about resale, a lot of resale properties will come with furniture in them, particularly if they've been a holiday home and that family have had the use out of it. They're moving on to different things now. it's probably not worth their time, effort, or expense to actually ship that furniture. The vast majority of resale properties will come with furniture in them. But the key to it is, whatever you're buying, ask the agent, is it furnished? Is it not furnished? Because if it is, you haven't got that thing to worry about. And if it isn't, you've then got to add the furniture into your budget as well.
Okay, fantastic. So that is a myth.
It's a
And
myth.
we have a final myth or fact question. New developments near tourist zones often include rental licenses, making them ideal for holiday let income.
Well, I think we know the answer to that one.
We do know the answer to that.
That is a huge fact.
Yeah, exactly.
I would actually change the wording on that as well. When it says new developments in touristic zones, they don't often, they have to. So when it's a tourist zone, they come with the license attached to it.
Yeah, but
And
also bearing in mind,
there is none of it buy it and then apply. It all comes pre-packaged with the license.
And you will know that before you buy.
Correct.
Whereas, as you mentioned, if it's not a specific tourist zone, you may get a big resounding no from the local community. So
absolutely,
that's and I've just learned that today. You see, guys, that's why you've got to tune in to listen to Colin, because you learn something new. Now, something I did want to ask you about, Colin, this is quite an important one for people looking to relocate over here on the Spanish non-lucrative visa. Now, this is something we've talked about on previous episodes, but there's been some developments, I believe. There's been some big, important developments. Whenever there's a development in terms of a visa, it's big news. So let's delve into this. So can you give us sort of an overview on the recent change to the non-lucrative visa? In particular, there's three particular pathways I want to go down. But firstly, give us a little bit of an insight into how much you now need to prove per year.
There haven't actually been any changes in the income. So the income is, as I mentioned earlier, for a single applicant, it's just under 29,000 euros. And for a joint application, 36,000 euros. So
which is very reasonable, isn't it? Because if you look at the wages in the UK, a joint household typically will be above that threshold.
It is, and you know, for anybody who's got state pensions, some form of private pension. I had an interesting chat with a client who's coming over in the next couple of months, and they've got they haven't got their state pensions yet, but they've got private pensions. Now, the interesting thing with the private pension is, as well, the actual fund will be taken into account as part of your savings. So say, for instance, you had 20,000 a year as an income, it's not the end of the world. You just have to be able to back up that extra income through savings. So that's where a lot of people who don't have that prerequisite income amount have to keep money in the bank over the 5-year period to satisfy the savings criteria.
Yeah.
Because the NLV runs over a 5-year period prior to you applying for your permanent resident afterwards. So, but the vast majority, if you've got a state pension in any form of private pension, most people are above it or somewhere near. I rarely see anybody who's got, say, 10 grand a year and have to make up this huge gap. You know, it just doesn't tend to happen. The other thing is there are 3 offices in the UK. There are offices in Manchester, Edinburgh, and London. And the Manchester office have recently taken upon themselves to make it a little bit more strict with regards to what financial evidence you have to supply. So you have to supply everything translated, signed by your bank, where the other 2 offices haven't necessarily gone down that route yet. There's an expectation that the other 2 offices, both Edinburgh and London, will. So there might just be a little bit more proof from the income perspective. But what is interesting, a positive on the NLV, it's recently just been announced where previously, when you applied for your non-lucrative visa and you were granted the non-lucrative visa, it's basically a page within your passport, which is a visa page. And that lasts, or you have to enter Spain and have that stamped within 90 days of you getting that visa. So what it was doing for a lot of people, it was very difficult for people to plan, because 3 months isn't a long period of time, particularly when you might be selling your property in the UK. It was creating problems where people were running out of the 90 days and they were having to reapply again. So the Spanish government, being the nice people they are, they've extended that to 1 year. So now you get your non-lucrative visa in there, and you now have 1 year to enter Spain and get that stamped.
Okay.
So that makes it much easier for anybody, which, to be honest, most people have to do this. For anybody who are in the throes of selling a property, you can just do the NLV at the same time, in the knowledge that you've got 12 months to get to Spain now, rather than 90 days, which was causing some problems. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Are there any other main changes that we need to be aware of?
There are some changes coming out where you had a situation where you had to prove an awful lot of things if you weren't married. There seems to be a softening on non-married couples now. So anybody who can prove that, that they've got financial assets together, there seems to be a softening on that. There's things changing all the time, though. The visa world will change all the time. This is why you've got to stay tuned to just find out. Again, if you've engaged with a lawyer, I would expect anybody who is looking to relocate to Spain, before you do anything, engage with an immigration lawyer, and you should get these notifications from your immigration lawyer. Do not start to sell assets. Do not start to make any plans until you know you qualify for your visas and you will be allowed entry into Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, very interesting there, Col. I suppose with that being said, then let's look at our final little segment, which would be the outlook for 2025 for the Costa Blanca in general. You've already mentioned that things are hot, but the Costa Blanca does still remain one of the most affordable coastal regions in Europe. So again, even though the market's hot, it shows that you can still get good value in the Costa Blanca. But again, you're going to need to be quick, really, aren't you?
You are, and you've only got to take the hotspots of the Costa del Sol to get that point. And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, who've been looking for property for years, and the only thing that can help them is a time machine. Unfortunately, we get people all the time say, "Yeah, we've been looking for 5 years. We've always holidayed in the Costa del Sol, and we didn't pull the trigger, and now we can't afford it. It's gone above. Costa del Sol's another level. The main parts where most people would recognize as the main tourist areas. So there's still value. And when we say value, it's in comparison to what your property, a comparable property, would cost in Northern Europe. Properties in Spain are about 30% less expensive than they are in Northern Europe. So that value is still there. So I know we used the bargain earlier. If all you're ever looking for is that bargain, you might wait forever and price yourself out of that market.
Yeah.
But value for money is much more important.
Yeah. And just picking up off the back of that, are there any? Do you foresee any changes with, say, the digital nomad visa, the other investor-friendly visas coming into 2025 into the summer and beyond?
The digital nomad's an interesting one. It's picking up a lot more traction now. There's a lot of Americans relocating to Spain. Political situations, cost of healthcare, general cost of living in America is eye-watering.
Oh yeah.
Now, particularly, you travel a lot, Aky. You know these things. So I mean, there's a lot of digital nomads now coming from the States who, it's a digital world we live in. You can do these jobs from anywhere, and they're choosing to have the cost of living in Spain rather than New York or wherever it is in America they're coming from. There haven't been any radical changes. It's only getting used an awful lot more than it was when it first came out. It's really starting to pick up traction now. That application is actually done from inside Spain, where the non-lucrative visa is done from the UK. The digital nomad application is done with inside Spain.
Yeah. And of course, Lefinka Resort is something which, you know, we, in fact, I think people should go and check out the latest video we did at the golf resort with Ali
Oh,
Drew.
with
That's
Ali.
on the channel. But Lefinka Resort still remains a fantastic place to buy, doesn't it?
It does. And interestingly about Lefinka, for a lot of years, it's actually becoming less unique, shall I say, because for many years you haven't been able to be granted a tourist license in Lefinka. The local town hall, which is Algorfa, actually stopped tourist license about 6 or 7 years ago now. And that's what a lot of people like about it. So when anybody isn't looking for an investment and they're not looking to rent it out and they're not looking to make money for it, they're purely want it as, you know, a home from home for their family. A lot of people like Lefinka because even though there are some historic properties that have tourist license attached to them, there's a tiny handful in comparison to most other areas. So the worst thing for me, my worst nightmare, if I put myself in the situation, if I bought a holiday home and I'd bought it next to a tourist let, would just be my absolute worst nightmare, because I like peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So people come to Lefinka for that very reason. Anything that's been built within those 6 or 7 years, you simply will not get a tourist license on it because they were built after the dates where they were where the local authority were issuing them. So there's only a handful of properties on Lefinka you can rent through what we call Airbnb.
Okay. Where are the upcoming hotspots, Colin, then? Is there anything we should look out for? I mean, I know Benihoffer is something you've mentioned in the past. Any other places?
Yeah, there's an awful lot of development going on in Benihoffer. As a region, though, which we sell a lot in, the Murcia region is really up and coming. Loads of development going on there. So from a price point perspective, again in the notary statistics that came out, Murcia as a region for purchasing is really starting to grow. Interestingly as well, in the same data, Pilar de la Horadada, which we talked about, the investment property, has got massive growth going on there, because when you see the amount of building going on there, it's not hard to understand, you know, the area will really bloom. It's got to be Murcia at the moment from where we are. The price point is slightly lower and people are looking to take advantage of that. So we even might categorize that as a bargain, Aky, even though I hate the word.
Oh, the B word. you used it, not me.
I felt under pressure to use it.
It's because everybody I know loves a bargain. Everybody I know loves a bargain.
Bargain loving bricks in the sun. Yeah, I mean, from a price point, it is less expensive. I won't use the word cheaper. It's less expensive than the Alicante region. It's because the amenities are slightly less, but again, those will come as and when more chimney pots appear. That'll come. You've obviously got the Corvera Airport, which is in Murcia, which is starting to get a bit more traffic. So the more property that's built, things will be built around it. It always happens.
Okay, there we go, guys. I mean, a lot of it, we've covered a lot there, you know, in terms of
We've covered
information-wise
loads.
for people who are seriously considering this. And I do want to urge that, you know, if you are considering buying, you've heard from Colin there several times. He's pleading with you. He's saying, pull the trigger now, because and he's only looking out for you.
I'm trying to the one key job I've got, Aky, I'm trying to build a time machine, but I can't.
Yes, it's impossible, and we all wish we had one.
Yeah,
because we all would have made
hindsight's the
differences.
perfect science.
It really is. It really is. And just guys, just look at the way the market's going. I mean, some of the properties we looked at today, and some of the, I remember going out there and looking at some of these properties a year or two ago, and they've shot up in value. They really have. So it's great, and also it's great to have so many questions from the viewers. We do encourage that. We love the fact that there are a good core of people who watch the show, and they do come in with questions. The 1% welcome gift offer is fantastic. It sounds great. That it's brilliant, especially when you, as you've mentioned, it can be used to pay for legal fees. I think that's
Indeed.
pretty excellent. And I believe there's also a Welcome Estates TikTok as well now for people to follow. It's all
Really?
going on. Apparently so, yeah.
This is news to me, Aky.
Apparently so, right? I mean, we all know there's the Instagram, which you should all please go and follow. We all know there's the YouTube. Some great little series on there as well. At Home with the Crabtrees is on there as well. It's a few new episodes and I think one more new one to come. But apparently there's also TikTok. So
Wow.
Things are going to be happening.
That one's above my head, Aky, I have to say.
Well, next week we will be back exploring some of the other hot topics, let's say, of the Costa Blanca, and we may also have Lisa back then. We're not sure, but we'll definitely have Colin back. That is for sure. And it's been a pleasure as always.
Barring injury.
Barring injury, or
I was
any
at a
stag
class.
do injuries.
I was at it was circuit training yesterday morning, Aky, so I'm a little bit tender this morning. So barring injury.
Barring injury or any touch wood, no more little knocks in the car or anything like that. He'll be here with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. So until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in to the Welcome Estates, or as we like to call it, the Welcome to the Sun online podcast. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Love to Lisa, Gary, and the family.
Absolutely. Love to all the family, and hopefully we'll be seeing them soon.
Thanks, everyone.